Hi, I'm Mikey Jeanson, a gameplay programmer with a background in Unreal Engine and C++. I've helped make several games including Your Average Bear, but now I'm a full-time UEFN developer, and this is Verse Boost. Welcome to the project, everybody. Today we are going to be making buttons that have some extra parameters tied to them. You may have seen this tweet on X. It was going pretty viral. Ryan was making something and he was using all these different callbacks to handle different buttons. So I want to show you how you can do it with just one callback instead. Here's our callback button class, and this class is just makes it so we can pass any type of parameters we want once the button is pressed. So you'll see here that we're using this parametric type here that allows us to use any different type, and we'll show you that down the line. But you'll see we have to pass in a button the parameters to that button. So that's where we say, like, if it's an int, we'll say like this is button 0 or this is button 5 or whatever, and then it'll be the callback function. And the callback's important because you'll see right here, we'll subscribe to the interacted with event, and it will call this method on pressed, which will in turn call our callback with the agent and also the parameters that we passed in earlier. In our numbered buttons device, all we do is on our onBegin function, we call gather callback buttons, and basically we use the button tag that we have on each of our buttons, and we grab them, make sure it's a button, and then we create the callback button. And you'll see here, this is where we pass our type for the callback button. So we pass in int. If we don't pass in anything, then everything's going to be broken. And you'll notice here that this parameter is also importantly an integer as well. If we would make it a string, then it's going to give us an error because it wants an int instead of an array of characters. So, and then our on button press, we'll take a look at that method. It just takes an agent and an ID, and then we just create all of them. We just set a different index for each of the parameters. We use array comprehension that we've been learning throughout this series, and we make all of our callback buttons. And then whenever we press a button, it'll say button pressed and it'll pass the ID. You'll see with this current implementation where we're using tags, not every button is in order. You know, I laid them out left to right. But if we do this one, that one's 6, and it should be 7. That one's 5, it should be 6, and stuff like that. So when you use tags, the order is non-determinate. So if the order matters to you, you can make an array of buttons in the editor before runtime and not use tags instead, which I did here. This actually will get the buttons in the order that you want, and then it'll pass along the ID. Like 0 through 7, and they'll all be in the correct order from left to right. So the last thing I want to look at is the identified button class I have here. You'll notice we have a couple variables. Just an example, if you were to create a class, because as you know, we cannot do parametric type classes with variables. That's currently not implemented like it says there. So if we want to have variables inside of this button, then we are going to need it to be explicitly typed like it is here, where we have just the ID, and we also, instead of a callback, which you could easily just have a callback here instead, like we did in our callback button class, you could easily have a callback, but instead we're using an agent int listenable. Like I say here, just look at episode 5 if you haven't seen any of this yet. But just an example, just instead of using a callback, we'll use a press event in case multiple functions want to be listening to this. Yeah, if you guys learned something, leave a like, and I'll try to get the next one out on time. All right, thank you guys for watching. Peace.